Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Right now, it's that time of year. Up on dwyervip.com, I'm selling two picks. One is a totals play. One is a point spread play for the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, taking place this weekend, January the 16th and 17th. Let's briefly talk about the four games. First, Pittsburgh Steelers on the road against Denver in Denver. Now let me say, all things being equal, if everyone was healthy, in my opinion, Denver would have the superior offense. The Steelers would be the superior team. Now I know there's a lot of intrigue about the Steeler injury report. No one quite knows what's going on, right? Here's what I think we all need to think about. If Ben Roethlisberger were bluffing, if his shoulder's actually healthy, why then would the team turn to backup Landry Jones during that key drive? Right? Game hung in the balance against the Bengals late in that playoff game. The fact that Ben was on the bench tells me that Vontaze Burfict actually roughed up his throwing shoulder. When Ben came in, let's face it, he couldn't really throw the ball that deep. I was listening to the NFL network on Sirius Satellite Radio, and they had a Steeler beat reporter who said that Ben apparently told offensive coordinator Todd Haley that he couldn't make some of the throws on that last drive. So, the Steelers would be a very live dog if they were completely healthy. Unfortunately, two of their best players, Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown, who's in concussion protocol, are a little bit iffy right now. We don't quite know what shape they're going to be in. We don't even know if Antonio Brown is going to be cleared. Now, I'll agree, Antonio Brown took part in the Steelers celebration after their win over the Bengals. Right? Teammates thought he looked fine. But we just don't quite know if he's fine enough to pass concussion protocol. Keep in mind, he's done well against the Steeler DB, Chris Harris, in the past. Let's talk about the Broncos. Peyton Manning. Look, a healthy Peyton Manning wasn't money in the playoffs. That's the reality, folks. As I like to say, he lost 2 Super Bowls that he was favored in. Look at Peyton's record this year as quarterback. He was one of the lowest rated quarterbacks in the league. Right? Before he got injured, before he was replaced by Brock Osweiler. Look at the running game of the Denver Broncos with Brock Osweiler. It's much better than the running game with Peyton Manning. Right? Now I know Peyton's going to be rested. He's going to have that bye week, etc. Right? Peyton has lost in the past after getting the bye in the first round of the playoffs at home. Right? So let's just say I personally feel Denver's making a mistake not going with Brock Osweiler. I understand I'm in the minority. That game's fascinating. Let's talk about Green Bay at Arizona. These teams played just a few weeks ago. Arizona had 9 sacks in the game. How comfortable are you with Green Bay's wide receivers? I'd be more comfortable, quite frankly, if they had Jordy Nelson playing. Right? James Jones was available for a reason when Green Bay picked him up early this year. Right? Devontae Adams, he's not 100% healthy. You're going up against perhaps the best secondary in the National Football League, although Honey Badger is out. Right? That's a fascinating game. Let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks against the Carolina Panthers. Now, I know a lot of people are very hard on Marshawn Lynch. Right? I'm a fan of Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk on NBC's Sports Network. He's extremely hard on Marshawn Lynch. I understand Marshawn took most of the snaps in practice last week, then decided he couldn't play against the Minnesota Vikings. Let me just be blunt. Marshawn Lynch, in my opinion, is one of the very best running backs in the National Football League. Right? If Seattle decides to go in a different direction, let me tell you, Thomas Rawls physically is smaller than Marshawn Lynch. And of course, he's injured. He's out for this game. If you're a Seahawk fan and you're convinced that Rawls is the future, just understand that even this year, Thomas Rawls isn't healthy enough to play in this game. Right? There's no question in my mind that Seattle's much better with Marshawn Lynch at running back. Right? Pay close attention to that Marshawn Lynch situation. He adds a lot of value. If he's not playing, they're going to be without a lot of that value. They only scored 10 points against the Minnesota Vikings. But what I want people to really think about is the fact that this is a revenge game. Seattle was playing at home earlier this year. They were winning the game. Cam Newton found Greg Olsen, former Miami Hurricane, late in that game for the go-ahead touchdown. Right? Blown coverage by the Seahawks. I'm sure every member of that Seattle secondary remembers that play. Right? Seahawks are coming in. They're the team. They're the two-time defending NFC champions. They're coming in with a bad taste in their mouth. Right? They know they should have won that earlier game against Cam and company. Right? Let's be clear. You know, Cam Chancellor was out the first two games of the year. Seattle was still figuring out its defense when they played the first time. Let's talk about the Carolina Panthers. Everyone's acting like Carolina getting a bye in the playoffs is new. Let's be real here. In the Cam Newton era, Carolina was the 2 seed one year. Right? The San Francisco 49ers with Colin Kaepernick came in. This is the game where Kaepernick scores a touchdown and then pretends he's Superman. Right? Carolina folded up that day. How confident do you feel about this Carolina team when they're relying on guys like Ted Ginn? Right? Jonathan Stewart is supposed to be the workhorse in the backfield. Right? Funchess is a young guy. Let's just say I don't see Steve Smith out there helping this team, right? Because he's gone, right? I think it's an open question on whether Cam Newton, who had to do Superman-type stuff to win games, right? 5 touchdowns passing against the Giants, and 100 yards rushing, right? Is Superman going to be able to jump out the window and fly against this Seattle Seahawks defense? Let's talk about the New England Patriots. Now, this is a team where when they get a bye and they're playing at home, man, are they good. Right? The last thing you want to give Bill Belichick is extra time to prepare for an opponent. Right? Historically, Tom Brady at home in the playoffs, most of the time, unless he's facing someone like Joe Flacco, most of the time he's money. Here's the problem. Patriots have been losing a lot of games of late, haven't they? Think about the Patriot running backs. LeGarrette Blount, he's out. Dion Lewis, he's out. Right? Patriots pretty banged up. That offensive line looks very shaky to me. Right now, let's look at the Kansas City Chiefs. You know what? Here in San Francisco, the growing consensus is that the team made a mistake when it let Alex Smith move on and it decided to go with Colin Kaepernick. Understand, Alex Smith has been to an NFC championship game, the game he lost to the Giants at home a few years ago. Right? Alex Smith is one of those guys where the numbers don't blow you away, but this guy's a winner to the point where this team, without Jamal Charles, has won 11 in a row. Right? Think about it. Now, Belichick's going to be up to his old dirty tricks, but aren't you a little concerned about that Kansas City pass rush? Aren't you a little concerned about the fact that KC looks so efficient against the Houston Texans? I'll agree they didn't look as good as they could have looked. But my goodness, the team's not relying on a lot of deep passes. Right? I'll agree. Jeremy Maclin, who people were wondering whether he had a torn ACL, has a high ankle sprain, and I haven't seen a guy come back from a high ankle sprain at wide receiver and look good the next week. So I'm not expecting Jeremy Maclin to be a factor here. But just understand the kind of conservative ball that the Kansas City Chiefs play. It's very effective, isn't it? Is there a possibility that they're catching this Patriot team at the right time? Right? You know, I'll just say this too. Look at the Patriot wide receivers. Right? Amendola banged up. Edelman banged up. Okay, these guys are supposed to be in the mix for this weekend. Right? Brandon LaFell, you know he's going to have multiple drop balls. He always has multiple drop balls. Right? Does Tom Brady have enough to work with against a team that has won 11 in a row? Big question. Anyway, those are the concerns I have. Let me hear yours. Let's try to beat the casino together. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section to this video. And if you're interested in considering buying picks, take a look at my dwyervip.com website. Thanks for stopping by.